Today we're going to talk about tips for emotional eating. Tip number one, you're going to the kitchen, you're going to eat, you know you're already full. The first thing you have to do is you have to stop and you have to observe your behavior. Your brain has been imprinted with a memory that emotions can be comforted with food. Brain mapping has proven this. So what you're doing is you're eating to cover up something else that's going on within yourself. And the only way to overcome it is to process the information in new ways. So the first thing you've got to do is you have to stop and observe your behavior. The second thing you have to do is you have to begin to understand the difference between physiological hunger and psychological hunger. Physiological hunger has chemical responses within your body that lets you know that you're really, really hungry. You have leptin that's released, or you have ghrelin going on in your stomach, and you have different things that let you know how full you are and how hungry you are. Well, psychological hunger is the same way, but the reaction is in your brain. It's biochemical. You have hormones that are released that make you turn to food because you need something that will help make you feel better. So let's say that your epinephrine is too high or your norepinephrine is too high, and that's your anxious hormone. And so it's being released in your brain, and your brain's going, I can't stand this. Find something that will help it to lower to make me feel better. Well, you'll probably turn to salty food because that will temporarily lower it. The problem is it doesn't sustain it. And so pretty soon you're turning back to the salty food to get it to lower again. Or let's say your serotonin is low, which is your feel-good hormone that's released in your body and in your brain. And if it's too low, your body's going to be going, okay, I need something to feel better. I need something that will crank up that serotonin. Well, sugar and simple carbohydrates are a quick fix for that. It'll make it spike up really, really quick. But the problem is food will only spike up just really short, and pretty soon it dips right back down, and you're crashing again, and you're going, I want to feel better, and so you go back to the pantry to get more simple carbohydrates. Or perhaps your cortisol is really high, which is your stress hormone. Well, you'll probably turn to sweet soft food like ice cream to help lower it, to help make you feel better. And so what happens is you go to the cupboard, you stop, you observe, you go, okay, something's going on here. I'm trying to hide something by eating food. So you have to determine what is going on in my psychological hunger. That's your second clue, psychological hunger. Your third tip is you then turn to non-food activities that will change your brain chemistry. Just like the food will change your brain chemistry, there are non-food activities. The thing that's good about non-food activities is they're sustainable. They last longer. It changes your hormones for a longer period of time, and so you actually end up feeling better. You actually cope with the real emotion instead of just covering it up with the food, which is just that quick fix. So let's find some examples of how this works. And I brought my Totell emotional ammo to help us. This is the best tactile tool you can use to figure this all out and to go through these 3 steps of emotional eating. So let's say I'm running to the pantry and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I want to eat something. And I stop and I observe because I know something's going on in my brain, in my chemistry, that is telling me that I need something to make me feel better. I determine whether it is physiological hunger or psychological hunger. And I soon know that it's psychological hunger. And what I feel is I feel a dip. I'm craving sugars. I'm feeling kind of down. I'm looking for that quick rise to make me feel better. So I take my emotional ammo and I start thumbing through it to figure out, what am I really feeling? A lot of times we don't even know what we're feeling. We can't put a finger on it. So I love this tactile tool. If you don't have it, you can make your own. But with this, it's something that's physical. I can grab it. It helps me to do that stop and observe. And it helps me to look at my psychological hunger and figure it out. So I start thumbing through and I'm thinking, do I feel mellow? No, that's not it. Am I mad? No. Am I lonely? No. And I keep thumbing through, and then all of a sudden I come across remorseful. And I start thinking about it, and I feel remorseful. And I flip to the back side of it, and I find what I do that makes me feel better, that is non-food activity, that helps me when I'm remorseful to raise my serotonin and my feel-good hormones. For me, that's to write an apology. When I feel remorseful, I write an apology. Now, I don't always send it, and actually, a lot of times, the apology is written to myself. It may be because I didn't keep a goal, or I set out to do something and I didn't quite finish it, and I'm mad at myself, and I'm remorseful, and I'm upset about it. So I write myself an apology, and pretty soon, those feel-good chemicals are released in my brain. I'm doing something physical, I'm doing something proactive, and it helps those hormones to release, and I feel better. And I don't have to go to food to change my brain chemistry, and I don't have to deal with the feelings of after eating and I still feel terrible. I haven't solved anything. All I know is I got a quick fix. Let's think of another emotion that we might feel that we can practice this on. How about I'm going to the pantry and I am looking for salty food, which means my norepinephrine is high, and I'm feeling pretty anxious. And I start thinking, I think I'm anxious. I'm not physiologically hungry. I'm psychologically hungry, and I need to change my brain chemistry because I'm feeling, kind of anxious, kind of uptight, and I start thumbing through my emotional ammo cards to find out what is it that I'm really feeling. Because, there's a lot of emotions, and you may think that there are not that many and they're not that different, but there actually is. So I thumb through and I stop at overwhelmed. And I realize what I am is I'm completely overwhelmed. Well, I've already processed what I need to do. I turn to the back and I find out, what do I need to do when I'm overwhelmed to change my brain chemistry? For me, the trick that always works is I fold one load of clothing. I do some wash and I fold the clothes. And for some reason, being able to see those physical stacks of clothes sitting there in a pile, all neatly folded, looking nice, makes me feel like I'm moving forward. I got something done on my to-do list, and I can check it off, and energy begets energy. And so I get that one thing done, and then I can move to the next thing. And it becomes this synergy where I get more and more done, and I don't feel so overwhelmed. But I know I have processed that if I do this non-food activity, I'll feel better, that it'll create more energy to get more done, and I'll actually change my brain chemistry, and I won't crave the food anymore, and I'll feel better inside. One more. Let's say I'm feeling really low. I go to the cupboard, and man, I want some ice cream, or I want, some M&Ms, and I start thinking. I stop, and I observe, and I start really noticing, what am I trying to cover up? I go to my second step. It's psychological hunger, and I know it. What am I feeling? And I notice that my cortisol levels must be high because I'm feeling kind of anxious, stressed. And I decide, after thumbing through my emotional ammo cards, that I feel pretty worthless. That I feel like I'm not doing anything great. I haven't accomplished anything today. I'm not worth much today. My self-esteem is pretty low. Well, for me, what I do is I stop and I get in a space where I can think for myself. I put on some music that I like that is upbeat, and I start thinking about my higher purpose. I start thinking, what is my path? What is it that I know I do well at, that I'm here to share with other people and put me on my right path of helping others? And I think about that, and I start thinking about the accomplishments that I've done in the past, great or small, and I take note of them. And pretty soon, my brain chemistry has changed. I have lifted the fog. I have created more serotonin. I've made myself feel better, and it's long lasting. It's not like that quick fix from sugar that drops me lower in just a few minutes. It actually makes me feel better, and it helps me to move on. So those are your 3 emotional tips for emotional eating. First, stop and observe. Notice what's going on in your brain. Notice that you have your brain memory going on, and it's using food to cover up things that you're feeling. Second, look at your physiological hunger and your psychological hunger and determine what is triggering your need to eat. And then thirdly, find a non-food activity to actually change your brain chemistry to make you feel better. I hope this will help you. Check out totellwellness.com, and if you want to hook up with some emotional ammo, you can go there to the store and purchase them, or just start making your own list of emotions that you feel and start really coping with your emotions instead of turning to food. Have a great day.